So here is an example of this idea that that was posed about the blended family earlier, to take that basic idea but to turn it into a thesis. So it says, although this is, I'm getting this right from the book, page 241, although a blended family often does experience petty jealousies and juvenile bickering, the benefits of having step siblings as live-in friends far outweigh the problems. There you go. That is an idea. That's a thesis. So the reason they're comparing the so what, as our author says, is that they lead to this big idea that, again, that it says, I'm going to read it again. Although a blended family does often have some petty jealousies and juvenile bickering, the benefits of having step siblings as live-in friends far outweigh the problems. So yes, we know where this essay is going. We do. We're giving them where this is heading. That's the big idea. The benefits are outweighing the disadvantages for this reason. All right. So that's a good example of that. All right, and then it says, just a little further down in that section, it says another way to avoid the so what problem is to direct your thesis to a particular audience. For instance, you might say that although Stella's Sweateria and Fitness Fanatics Gym are similar in their low student membership prices and excellent instructors, Stella's is the place to go for those seeking a variety of exercise classes rather than hardcore bodybuilding machines. All right, so that's another example of, so they let you know what they're comparing and contrasting, the Sweateria gym or the other one here. What are they called again? Oh, let's see, Stella's Sweateria or the Fitness Fanatics, right? But they are basically saying that they ended up liking Stella's better because it was. Why did they like Stella's better? Tell me again. Stella's. Okay, so it says, I'm just going to read it again. It says, although Stella's Sweateria and the Fitness Fanatics Gym are similar in their low student membership prices and excellent instructors, Stella's is the place to go for those seeking a variety of exercise classes rather than hardcore bodybuilding machines. So that's their idea, that they're comparing and contrasting Stella's and the Fitness Fanatics Gym, but they ended up liking Stella's better for this reason, right? But they're going to show you, they're going to break it down with the comparison contrast, right? So those are some good examples of thesis statements for this type of essay, and that is a problem to avoid, is not having a thesis or having a thesis that is more of a report. So you want to avoid that. All right, so and then it says next, another problem to avoid is describe your subjects clearly and distinctly. So it says to comprehend a difference or a similarity between two themes, there's my word, the reader must first be able to see them as you do. So you really need to describe them. So sometimes we have a good idea and we leave part of it in our head. So in the description, you've had now some experience with the last essay, with the expository essay, and really getting specific in needing to give directions with the directional process essay. And so now what we need to do is use that same skill of description and put it into this essay in the form that you really need to describe. For example, if it were this and you were describing the food, describing the service, describing the atmosphere, then you really need to describe it well. You need to really give those details so the reader can see it, so they really get why you like one better than the other, or whatever it is, right? So, so it says here, consequently, you should use as many vivid examples and details as possible to describe both subjects. As many detailed examples as you can to describe both subjects. Really paint a picture with your words. Like you can just, the reader can just picture it. Like they're like, whoa, yeah, that is amazing. I can't wait to go there, right? Or whoa, that seems rough, right? Or whatever it is, right? But really describe it. Like we don't want to leave part of the description here because the reader is not in our head, right? But they want to feel what we feel. They want to see what we see, but we have got to paint that picture with our words. Make it pop. Make it come alive with your words and your description. And that can be kind of the fun part, right? So, all right, it's English teacher fun, but you know, it's fun. All right, so very good. All right, so then again, you want to use that detailed description, vivid examples, and to keep you on track by that, remember our phrases, the transition phrases that are also called signal phrases, for example, for instance, specifically, etc. Right? So you want to use those phrases before your example because that helps you to remember to add the specific example, and it helps your reader to go, example coming up, you know, here we go, right? So, all right, very good. So again, be super specific in that. All right, then it says on page 242, avoid a choppy essay. Again, this could be a problem with this type of essay. It's a problem you want to avoid. It says whether you organize your essay by a point-by-point pattern or the block pattern, you need to use enough transitional devices, also called transition words and phrases, to ensure a smooth flow from one subject to another and from one point of view to the next. Without transitions, your essay may assume the distracting movement of a ping pong game, right? So you have to have transition words and phrases. I said they are super essential in the last paper because you're giving directions. So you have to merge the reader into your next point. Same here, but slightly different reasons, right? You have to merge the reader into your next topic. You have to, you're switching between either 2 points or 2 subjects, depending on your formatting, and you need to keep them abreast of which one is which. And it can be super confusing if you don't use transition words because they're like, wait, I thought we were just on that restaurant. Now we're on this one. What's happening here, right? So you don't want them to throw up their hands in confusion. You want them to clearly get your point. And so you've got to use those transition words. So here are what I love about this book is it's very practical. And she just gives us these little practical things that we can grab a hold of. And right here in the chapter, she gives us this little box, as I like to call it. You could also, it's a list. You could also look at it as a list, but I like to think of it as a box. I just want to grab that box and go. So grab your transition box and go, right? So it says comparison. She gives you some for comparison. Also, similarly to, both, like, not only, but also, have in common, share the same, in the same manner. For contrast, when things are different, right? That we have, however, on the contrary, on the other hand, in contrast, although, unlike, though, instead of, but. So, you know, there are others, but these are the major players. And so again, this gives you right in here, is like I like to call it in the box. You can grab your transition box and you can plug these into your paper, right? So very practical, which is one of the reasons I love this book. All right, so I want to talk about essay topics now on page 243. I do want you to choose one of these topics because I think comparison contrast essays can really get away from us if we're not careful. So we're going to choose from one of these list of topics. I actually think some in this list are a little more workable than others, but I am going to leave you that choice of each of these. And I will be posting the assignment and prompt. There's a mini prompt in the syllabus, but I'll be posting the longer prompt, and I will be posting the assignment. So don't stress if you don't see that yet. It's coming. All right. So, but meanwhile, you can start thinking about the specific topics, right? So let's just go over them so I could perhaps clarify them a little bit. So, and I'm just going to read this little part here that she said because this is so important. At the top of the list, she said, remember to narrow your subject, formulate a thesis that presents a clear point, and follow one of the two organizational patterns discussed, right, in this chapter. So you've got a choice of point by point or block style. Those are your two choices. All right, so number one is called an expectation and its reality. But this is where this one could go awry. This is not my favorite one, to be honest, but you can do it. But if you choose this one, you need to be really clear as to what is the expectation that you're talking about and what is the reality that you're talking about. So maybe like maybe you're talking about your first year of college experience, and then you would talk about what your expectations were and then what the reality is. Actually, I could see this working. So maybe I'll clarify. You just need to get super clear on what the expectation is and what the reality is. But I could see this. Everyone has probably, most people have some sort of idea of if they're going to college, what their expectation is. And so maybe, like this was all pre-COVID, right? Maybe people had ideas about, different clubs and meeting people in class and different things like that. It might be clubs and organizations, might be one point, meeting new people in classes, and something else I can't think. Oh, and maybe like meeting, getting to know like instructors in your classes or something like that. And then the reality of that, because this is now all online, and you would compare those same points, but that's the expectation was this, and having your points, and then the reality is this, and the points. But again, you need a specific topic, and you must let your reader know what that topic is. Okay, so that's where it could go awry, but I actually think, in retrospect, it could work well. All right, so number two, a memory of a person or place and a more recent encounter, or first impression and then a later point of view. Okay, so that's a little open-ended, but it could work. You just have to narrow it down and focus it. So, for example, first impression, later point of view, let's take that. And again, you've got to have some idea on that. So what is your big idea? So maybe someone that you met, you didn't have a great first impression of them, but then, they ended up being your best friend or something like that. My first impression, and you could have like, you have to have your idea, your big idea, but maybe points to compare on what their personality, I don't know, that likes, dislikes, something like that, and then what you later learned about them. And so how that was similar or different, right? So, but you've got to have a big idea, maybe something like, although when I first met my friend so-and-so, I did not think we would get along at all because of, I don't know, because of our opposite personalities, but in fact, so-and-so, in fact, those opposite personalities have allowed us to become best friends. Excellent. That would work, right? So then you would give 3 personality traits perhaps as your points, right? And point. Compare you and the friend on point, right? And again, that would be block style, would be the same way. It's just that you on those points and then the friend on the points, or vice versa. All right. Very good. All right, so now let's look at the next one. And again, you could do the same thing with a memory of a place. You've got to have some idea about it. All right, 3, 2 music festivals in your region. Well, that sounds fun. Wouldn't it be nice if we could go to a festival? But again, you have to have some idea about which festival you liked better and why. So it's not just going to be, I'm comparing Festival 1 and Festival 2. You have to have some sort of clear idea about it and why. All right, fine. So let's move on to, it says, 4, a classic car and a more recent model that revives the classic name. Okay, so I'm not really thinking what that might be, but A classic car, like, okay, fine. So let's say you're comparing like the original like Volkswagen Bug, and then the newer type of that. But you have to have some idea of which one is better, right? So you should just be really clear on what you're comparing in that, and then what your big idea is about it. All right, number 5, coverage of the same story by 2 newspapers or magazines, such as the National Enquirer and the Dallas Morning News, for example, or Time and Newsweek. But again, you have to have some idea. So that could work. I mean, that could actually be quite timely. That one is going to involve citing the sources of those 2 articles. But that could work. So let's say the same event happens in the news. So that event happens. Let's say a political candidate goes to have an event somewhere, right? 2 different news organizations cover it, and you would be looking at those articles, or that coverage, and then you would have some big idea about that, though. You've got to have the idea, not just they looked at this one looked at this. What's your idea? All right, so that could work, and that would involve citing the news articles. However, it would give you a lot of evidence from the articles that you could use, which could be very helpful. All right, so then it says number 6, an original song by an artist and a cover of the same tune by another band of a different genre. That would be really interesting. Same song, but in one case it's in one genre, and then in another case it's another genre, and just having some overall idea about the effectiveness of that song, or some idea that you have. So I mean, what comes to mind, and this is I know I'm dating myself because neither version of this is new, but like Dolly Parton had a song that she wrote called "I Will Always Love You," and of course she's a country artist, so it was in the country genre. And then years later, Whitney Houston did the same song. It was a remake of that Dolly Parton song that she had a big hit with, and that's more on the more of a pop genre. And so looking at like those 2 songs with the 2 different genres and comparing them on the same points, and then having some clear idea about it. And again, your idea doesn't have to be this one was better. It could be for some clear reason, but it also could be that something like, despite these 2 different genres, and that the artists were very different, the message of the song was so powerful that it transcends genre. I could write that paper. That could be cool. All right, very good. I've seen both. One has passed on, but I've seen both of those artists in concert too, which is super cool. All right, having nothing to do with anything, right? But I could use it in that paper. I could even, pull their performance of the song in concert as evidence, if that worked for me. Okay, fine. All right, so then it says 7, 2 essays or pieces of literature with similar themes but different styles. Yeah, so maybe 2 poems or something like that, right? But you would have to have maybe 2 poems by the same poet. But you want to compare and contrast them. This would really be something you might find yourself doing very frequently in a literary analysis class, which could be in your upcoming future, right? So that would be great practice. So, it could be a poem or even a short story. Maybe it's by the same author, or maybe different authors, but there's some, similarity to it, or, or reason of comparison, right? So, again, you would need to cite those authors or poets. Number 8, 2 kinds of classes, online and on campus. That would be fitting. Lecture and lab, high school and college, great. I mean, I think all of you could talk about that, especially right now, right? So that's very timely. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think those are all pretty easy to come up with a clear idea about, so that one could work well. Number 9, 2 pieces of technology or 2 pieces of sports equipment, or an older and newer version of a product. it's easy. There's a lot there. It's easy to get lost in the details of that, but like two different types of phones, for example, that you could that would be really fun. You could do that. Like I'm not really good at knowing types of phones, but you could talk about two different types of phones, and but you're going to have an idea about which one you are, which side you're coming down on for which phone, that kind of thing. That could be cool. All right, so number 10, two paintings, photographs, or posters. I'm not really sure about the poster thing, but if you have ideas on that, maybe I just don't know enough about posters, but that could work. All right, so this sounds honestly sort of complicated. Number 10, I mean, it's literally a paragraph just for the topic. So, but if you have ideas about two paintings or two photographs, again, they might be by the same artist, but you're comparing and contrasting them on the same points, and you have some big idea about that, fine. I mean, that could work. Again, just it seems a little complicated to me, but again, sometimes that can be the best because you have a lot to say. So it's an option. 11, two amusement parks or other entertainment venues such as concert halls, bars, or dance clubs. So, maybe you're comparing Disneyland and Disney World, Disneyland in Southern California or Disney World in Florida. If you happen to have been to both of those, you could compare and contrast those. But again, you're going to have some idea about why you're comparing and contrasting those. Like, are you recommending one over the other and why, for example? So, but that seems pretty straightforward, honestly. All right, so 12, two places you've lived or visited or two schools you've attended. That was similar to the first example I gave about two different places to go on vacation. That would be very straightforward, I think. That's pretty doable. Or again, two different schools that you attended, that would work. 13, two instructors or coaches whose teaching styles are effective but different. So that's fine. You could do that. So yeah, I mean, that would work. That would work very well. All right. And then it says 14, two movies. Or a book and a movie adaptation, a movie and its sequel, an older movie and its remake. So just to be clear on that, maybe you're going to pick two different movies and compare and contrast them, but it has to be, again, very clear as to why you are comparing and contrasting these two movies. Maybe they're both action films. But there's a reason you're comparing them because they're both action films, but you recommend one or recommend the other, and why. So again, that could work well. All right, so there's more. There's just a few more. All right, so 15 says two jobs, bosses or employers, or your current job and your dream job. That'd be kind of cool. So two different jobs. Let's say you're going to talk about two different jobs that you have had, right? And you are, but again, be clear on the reasons you're comparing those jobs, and maybe you have some idea about which is the best fit for you, right? So again, this is an idea, not a fact, right? But maybe, maybe you're looking at, okay, here you go. If it were me, years ago, when I was a student, when I was a high school student, I had a job at J.C. Penney's. When I was a senior in high school, the next year, my first year of college, I did a little stint working at McDonald's. So I might compare the experience of working at J.C. Penney's versus the experience of working at McDonald's, and I would need to compare them on the same points. Like maybe I would talk about the atmosphere, the overall work atmosphere, the training that I received, and maybe interaction with customers. Like those could be three points. So for me, if it were me, my thesis might be my point in comparing these, that on those points that overall JCPenney's was the better fit for me personally at that time. But I would need to compare them on the same points and then again have that big idea, right? All right, so, and then it says 16, two of your closest friends who are special to you in different ways. So again, we're not on any of these. We're comparing. We are not to attack anyone. We're not attacking anybody personally, and we're not going to attack their character or anything like that, because that would not even be an essay. That would be some sort of rant, and that would not be good at all, right? But you would be looking at so two of friends that are special to you in different ways. So again, maybe you're going to compare them on points of listening, of being available to you, of likes and dislikes that you share. And then it doesn't have to even be I like this friend better than that one or anything like that. It could be that that their differences are both a complement to you in your life or in some way, right? That could be a big idea, some reason for doing that. Or that it helps you to learn that people's different, that having friends that are vastly different from each other can be a great benefit to you in your life, something like that maybe. All right, so 18, it says your attitude toward a social custom or political belief, and your parents or grandparents' attitude toward that same belief or custom. That would be interesting. Again, we're not to attack anyone. I know it's election season, so don't attack anyone's character. No name calling. All right. So, and I love doing this, that it's parents or grandparents, because we're less likely, I think, to attack someone's character if we know them and care about them, right? So, but if you do that, you just take one, you could, for example, take one sort of issue, and you're comparing their idea about it and your idea about it on the same points. Again, you don't want the big salad of just throw everything in there, right? Same points, right? But you would have one clear idea about that issue. Okay. All right. And then it says 19, collaborative. Okay. I am going to, I can't, 19 is just not going to work for this circumstance. So cross out 19. I mean, if you have a really specific idea on that, please contact me. But otherwise, we're not doing 19. That just isn't going to work well in this format, I think. 20 is fine. Compare or contrast two advertisements that are themselves developed by comparison, contrast, or analogy. Sounds rather complicated, but if you have a passion for it, I'm open to that. So you're going to compare two different ads that are, maybe they're advertising the same product, but they do it very differently, or they have similarities and differences, right? So it could be the same product, it could be the same company, but they have very different formats for the ads, something like that. But that would be very interesting. I think that could work. All right, so those are the topics. There are 20 choices, but not really. There are only 19. It's numbered 1 through 20. 19 is just cross that out. I can't see how that could work. All right, so, but the other ones are up to you. Just be very clear and specific like we just talked about. All right, so page 245, I want to point that out to you. Page 245 is a topic proposal for your essay. I want to go through this. You are going to do this as an assignment, and I will list it as an assignment, so you don't have to include it with your notes or anything like that. It will be a separate assignment. That will all be coming up. So, but I just wanted to go through it to clarify and point you out to the page number 245, right? So, and again, on all the topic proposals, you don't have to type out the question because I have it, but you can. If that keeps you on track, a lot of students find that keeps them on track, totally fine. You can type it out or not type it out, up to you. But I do need you to answer in complete sentences. In each case, complete sentences, no yes or no answers, because that doesn't help you to get focused. And the other thing is that it does have to be typed. So I don't want any handwritten topic proposals. I'm going to give it back to you to redo. But if you don't, it ends up being a 0. What's the point of that, right? So let's just go through it so I can clarify. So number 1, what 2 subjects will your essay discuss? In what ways are these subjects similar? and different. What are your topics? What are you comparing and contrasting? Okay, so I am going to be comparing, I'm going to be I'm going to go back to from the beginning. I'm going to be comparing Lake Tahoe and New York City as vacation spots. Whatever your topics are, state that. In what ways are the subjects similar or different? You just need to say that. Do you plan to compare or contrast your two subjects? So, meaning, are you going to be looking at the way these are alike, the ways that they are different, or both? You can choose. Either any and all of that is fine, but you just need to be clear. Number 3, write 1 or 2 sentences describing your attitude toward these two subjects. Are you stating a preference for one, or are you making some significant point? In other words, what is the purpose of the essay? So that will lead you to your thesis. And I don't say the purpose is because I have to do this. It's an assignment. I can't avoid it. Okay, no. Toss that. No, I mean, you might think that, but don't put that on your paper, seriously. So, no. So what is the purpose of this comparison contrast, right? That's going to turn into your thesis. So this is a very valuable question for you. All right, and so 4, why would other people find this topic interesting and important? Would a particular group of people be more affected by your topic than others? Are you avoiding the so what thesis problem? All right, so number 4 is going back actually to chapter 1, talking about audience. This is who is your demographic for this. So again, don't just say everyone. I don't want to read everyone because, and I'm not going to give you full points if you put everyone, because that is too vague, right? If you can keep your audience in mind, that really helps you to develop and craft your essay. So you might say college students if that's the case. It might be, depending on what you're comparing and contrasting, parents of newborns or senior citizens or whatever it is, whomever it is, who's your demographic, all right? So this says, and then answer the rest of it as well, right? Are you avoiding the so what thesis problem? How so? How are you avoiding that? Number 4, list 3 or 4 points of comparison or contrast that you might include in this essay. This will help you to structure your essay with your topic sentences. What are the points of comparison or contrast? Just like we've, talked about, going back to the restaurant thing that's in the outline that's in the beginning of the book. Maybe I'm going to compare and contrast on these 2 restaurants on food, service, and atmosphere, right? So that will help you to craft your topic sentences and structure your essay. Number 6, what difficulties might this topic present during your drafting? For example, would your topic be best explained using block or point-by-point pattern? And the difficulties could include, I've never done a comparison contrast essay. Right? Don't freak out. But I mean, that might be a difficulty. Or, whatever it is, I haven't, thought about comparing these 2 restaurants before, or whatever. If you don't have any apparent difficulties that you're anticipating, then say why. I did a comparison contrast essay just last semester, so I'm pretty comfortable with this sort of style, or I'm really excited about comparing these 2 restaurants, or whatever it is. Just, you want to actually answer the question specifically. All right? Very good. Okay.